I'll get to. That's always a possibility.
Let me see if I can set you up.
Let me see if I can start to.
Okay, email account, edit email.
Did you see that Eileen responded?
What'd she say?
No.
No title report yet. Sheesh.
Okay, let me log out of this. I appreciate your patience, everybody. We're trying to get Corey on. Okay, so I'm gonna make like a alt account for you to join. IRA.net, Gmail. I'm gonna get that set up here.
Discord is not going to like me from my previous activities that I used to do.
Okay, no worries, no worries. We're gonna get this sorted. Okay. Helicopter. Yeah, don't worry. So here's what you want to do, Corey. You wanna log in. Yeah, exit out of there, and I'm gonna give you a login to log in with.
Oh, now you want to come up.
I'm in here. Let's go.
We appreciate the patience, everybody. We're still working to get Corey on with us.
See, we have the legendary Bob Sadai in the audience. Hey, hey.
On now?
I think so.
All right, fantastic. All right. Congratulations.
All right, let's give this a go.
All right, gentlemen.
Corey Geary.
What's up, brother? Let's see if I can figure out how to turn the camera on. Oh, man, we did it.
There he is.
Holy crap.
Figure it out.
Are we turning our cameras on?
Oh,
Beyond grateful for the opportunity to be in proximity with you all. Thank you so much for the patience. We got Corey on. What's
absolutely, man.
Oh, we're turning.
And let's make sure the GOAT makes it in. Mr. Sean Terry looks like he might be having some problems too. I don't know.
How's it going, Sean?
Good. How are you?
Oh, you
Fantastic.
good?
I'm on. I just trying to figure out the camera thing.
It's at the bottom there, Sean.
Yeah, I see it.
No.
Appreciate the patience.
Man, my Discord account is so jacked up from 2021. I got to go in there and figure it out. It's from all the NFT trading I did back then. Oh, there's Sean.
Booyah! Touchdown.
Awesome.
What's happening? Made it.
We made it.
What's up, Corey?
What's up, guys? How we doing?
Blessed, man. I'm blessed. I'm really grateful.
I think I
to
like
be in
Discord
proximity.
better than Zoom.
Oh,
Sorry.
Discord's way better than Zoom. You're gonna love it.
Nice.
Hopefully, I'm not lagging here. Let me close out a couple tabs.
Juan, you're the one without your camera on.
That's so.
Yeah, Juan, where you at, bro?
Come on, Juan.
Right here, right. Getting the lighting right.
Awesome. Corey, Sean, thank you so much for coming to join us today, gentlemen. I'm beyond humbled, to be in the presence of greatness. I'm really excited to share with you what I've been working on in terms of Novation.
Cool.
I actually just locked up another Novation yesterday. on 160
Nice.
acres of land in New Mexico, and I contacted an agent today that has sold multiple other similar properties in the area, and I'm very excited. He's telling me that it's going to sell for the price that I thought it was going to sell for, and it looks like it's going to be a six-figure spread. So that's the
Nice.
power of Novation, ladies and gentlemen. This is the second six-figure deal that I have under contract right now. The other one is in Dawsonville, Georgia. That one has already been. We've already got offer accepted, and we're waiting to close on that one. So I'm beyond excited and blessed to be here in this moment. It's really incredible, this Novation strategy that Sean's going to unpack with Corey today. It's truly life-changing. It is the next level, I think, of wholesaling. And without further ado, Corey, Sean, please definitely introduce yourselves. Let everybody know who you are.
All right.
Go ahead, Corey.
Yeah, I'll kind of lead it off. So my name is Corey Geary. I got into real estate roughly in about 2015. And I initially started flipping houses, got my ass handed to me, lost a lot of money just because of bad contractors. And that's what forced me into wholesaling. And literally, and I tell the story all the time, I was, I lost all my 401k money, I lost my life savings. And I was like, man, I wonder how these wholesalers get their deals. And I went on Google and I typed in, how do wholesalers find deals? And a program called Flip to Freedom came up through my Google search, and I bought that course, and that's when my wholesale journey kind of like took off. That was the beginning of my wholesale journey, besides, some masterminds and everything else that went along with it. But Sean has been a crucial part of my whole real estate journey, not just in real estate, but just in life. I say real estate saved my life because now through real estate, I'm sober for multiple years now. I have a family. I have a 2-year-old daughter, and this is all because of real estate, because I was, going nowhere fast before getting into real estate. And the reason why that happened is because real estate was getting me around like-minded people like you, John, Juan, Sean. All you guys were leveling up all the time, and it forced me to level up, spiritually, mentally, physically, and obviously financially. So that was kind of the story of my beginning of my real estate journey. And then how I found Novations is kind of funny. I went nationwide when everyone else was going nationwide. So I used to have a local operation where I was doing between 8 to 10 deals a month, and it was good. But like everybody was scaling and doing this whole nationwide thing back in the day, and then Sean had done his nationwide push. And before Sean, it was Nick Perry, and I was really good friends with Nick Perry. And so I gave a stab at nationwide, and I sucked at it so bad because I was locking up deals at the wrong price, trying to find the buyers that I could not, it was difficult finding these buyers. I was calling realtors, or my team was. And I was in a mastermind one day, and a guy was doing a presentation on his business, and he was like, yeah, and this was a local business, and he was like, yeah, I made $2 million last year, and half of that was in this strategy called Novation. So obviously I did not create Novations. Novations has been around long before me, and it's like wholesaling. None of us created wholesaling. It's always been there. And I was like, and he went to go dive in. He was like, yeah, I sell these properties on the MLS to conventional finance buyers. And I was like, man, if I can crack that code, I can do that nationwide, and it would basically save my business. And it did. It really did. I got a couple attorneys involved. We redeveloped the paperwork that was involved. I didn't like the way they were doing it with the power of attorney and stuff like that. And the attorneys are the ones who did my paperwork, not me. I can't take credit for that. And we went out to make, a fully functional Novation company. We were doing between 20 to 40 a month, or 20 to 40 at a time, not a month, 20 to 40 on the board at any given time. And the 2022, I was almost strictly Novations. I mean, we had a couple wholesale deals here and there. I don't like wholesale. I like Novations way better, just because, the transparency you have with the seller. I love that. And I love the transparency with the buyer too, because it's a retail buyer. They don't care how much you're making, and the seller knows that you're selling it to a third party. And I found my deals went way smoother, and I made way more money. And so that's kind of my story with it. And there towards the end of 22, I created the course called Novation Nation. Launched the course, and that did pretty well. And I'm currently, full disclosure, I'm not doing real estate. I moved to Puerto Rico, and I'm full-time crypto now, which sounds kind of crazy. But if I were to go back and start practicing real estate, Novations was my favorite strategy. And that's also why I wanted to bring on Sean today, because this is somebody who's in the weeds every single day. He's still doing deals. He's always done deals. That's something I actually appreciate about Sean, is that he's never was just a guru. He was a guru. And that's why I love the guy. I mean, you're one of my biggest inspirations and mentors, Sean. So I appreciate you coming on today. Thank you so much. And I'll kind of let you tell your side of the story with the whole, and Sean doesn't do what's, I guess, and you can explain it. It's not technically Novations, but it's a kind of a spin-off. And that works well too. So,
yeah. First off, Corey, thank you so much for the kind words. Greatly appreciate it. And I don't think I've actually met John or Dan or Juan actually personally, but I appreciate you guys having me on your platform. I'm honored. And I love seeing people, have success, but then be able to, share their success and build a community and do something like that. So I really commend you guys for doing that. It's not easy to do. It's hard kind of putting yourself out there and really kind of stepping out and be leadership in the industry. So I greatly appreciate what you guys have put together. And in watching Corey's journey, I met Corey like the first time he came in, him and his partner. He worked as a blackjack dealer at a casino here in Arizona, here in Scottsdale. And he would blackjack deal. He'd work all until the wee hours, and he'd do deals in the afternoon. Him and his partner. And he came to the conclusion after coming to a couple mastermind, a couple events and stuff like that, that he could do better on his own. So they kind of broke up that relationship. And I think one of the, what I love about this business, and I definitely appreciate what you guys are doing on platforms like this, is that you have the ability when you teach to change people's lives. And, when you change a person's life, and it's really not, it's more like planting idea and sharing what's working for you. It makes a ripple effect in the world in a positive way. And Corey is one of those people I've watched over the years. He's become a close friend. To see how he's transformed his life between, we go to masterminds and he come in late, completely hungover, dragging, eyes all bloodshot, face all red, just like hammered still, because they were out drinking all night. But to see how he's transformed, not only spiritually in his personal life, and really understanding and embracing a morning ritual part of his life, but then also implementing in the business side of it, and in his journey. And I've met his daughter, right, and met your wife and his family, and what he's turned into as a man and a leader in this industry has been is pretty amazing. So and if you go out and you change one life, and then now he's turned around and impacted other people in a positive way, and now we're here, being able together now impact other people in a positive way. So I think it's all a good thing. Real estate is a phenomenal vehicle. I got started when I was 33 years old. At the time, I bounced around. I was a U.S. Marine. Went to the Gulf War back when I was early 20s, 1920. Got out of that, and I literally floundered around from like 21 to 33, trying to find my niche. So if maybe you guys, you really haven't found your niche yet, and you're looking for something to really dive into, sink your teeth into, definitely stick around and learn what we're talking about here today, because this is something that can definitely change your life and for the better. So from literally like 21 to 33, I kind of floundered around. And then I got married. I met my wife, and at 33, I was literally living month to month. I was struggling. I was doing landscaping and pool design and stuff at the time. It really didn't have any future. I was, depressed. I was drinking all the time. I was overweight. And it just was just a bad scene. I was 33 at the prime of my life, and I'm at this thing, and I just can't find, the next thing, the thing I could dive into. I didn't have a college education because I wasn't smart enough. I went to the Marine Corps. They're pretty much the only one who accepted me, and I couldn't make it. I saw my friends that were, they had their Toyota Camrys, and they had their house, and they had their wife, and they had their 401ks, and I'm sitting there going, man, I'm screwed, right? And then I heard this, I was going to a pool appointment here in Phoenix. I was driving down the freeway and I was flipping through the radio stations, and I heard this guy talking about how you could flip houses, wholesale houses, and I didn't really know what wholesaling was. I thought you had to have, a 700 credit score or an 800 credit score, and I thought you had to have a bunch of cash so you could buy a house, fix it, and sell it, or buy it and rent it. So when they talked about this concept of wholesaling, and that you could get a property under contract and you could sell it to a cash buyer and you could basically flip the paper. That was a new idea. And every time you have a new idea or a new concept, it creates a spark and enthusiasm. And he was talking about how you could make $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 over a 30-day period. I'm like, holy cow, that's amazing. And I was like, that money was just unachievable, to me at the time. And so I bought this guy's course. It was $500, and I didn't have the money. I took my wife's Capital One credit card. It was a starter credit card for $250. I had a Capital One credit card for $250. And I called the guy up and I said, can you take 2 credit cards? He said, yes. I said, okay. So he took it. I got the course. I was so excited. I remember I got it in the mail. It's this big box, and I opened it up. And I remember it was like a Friday. I was going to watch them all weekend and devour this information. And it was VHS tapes, if you guys know what those are. This is outdated. It was VHS tapes. And I put the VHS tape in. It comes up. The screen's black and white. And this guy is from Texas. He has big old cowboy hat on. He had bell bottoms and stuff. And he's standing in front of like a whiteboard. And he's talking about how you can knock on pre-foreclosure doors and you can get, distressed deals. And I'm like, whoa. And he recorded the information in 1992. Right? 1992, and it was 2003. So it was 10 years old, and I'm going, so basically what happened is this guy got on the radio, took all his old books and cassettes and tapes, and he got on the radio, sold them, and I was a sucker that bought them, right? So I bought it, and he said, all you got to do, and here's the whole concept, is you get a list of pre-foreclosures, you drive around, and you knock on doors. So I did. I turned around. I got a list. Cost me $100 pre-foreclosures, and I started driving around Phoenix. And this is before GPS. So I had to print every single house from house to house a map on MapQuest. You guys don't even know what MapQuest is. You're too young. So they have MapQuest. I print it out, and I drive around town. I'd knock on 20 doors a day while I'm doing my pool job, trying to get my first deal. I would knock on pre-foreclosure doors. I had people pull guns on me. I had dogs chase me. I had people yell at me. And I finally got my first deal. I made $11,008, and that pretty much changed everything because it was proof of concept. My father-in-law told me I couldn't do it. He said, you can't sell a house you don't own. I talked to realtors, that he referred me to, and he goes, you can't do that. Professionals get all those deals. And I was definitely not professional. I was just some guy in flip-flop jeans and or flip-flop shorts and a t-shirt knocking on doors. And so I had everything going against me. And I don't know if I was just persistent or dumb or whatever, but I just kept on knocking on doors. And I got my first deal. In the first 8 months, I made $136,000. That really made a difference. And ever since I've made millions, tens of millions of dollars. I've been doing this now for 20 years, full time. I pivoted and I basically did Phoenix, and it's pretty much the largest wholesaler in Phoenix. doing millions and millions of dollars a year. We had a sales team, and I did pretty much every marketing channel from Google AdWords, direct mail. We drop 100,000 direct mail units a month. We had cold calling teams. We had texting teams. We had billboards across the country. Across the valley. So we did pretty much everything local, and I got to the point local where we were maxed out on leads. We had the omnipresent marketing. We're pretty much hitting everything everywhere. 2019, and I decided to go national in 2019. It was a big step for me because it was a complete different business model going from local to national. I had sales team that go out on appointments, 15 to 20 appointments a week. They meet sellers, get contracts, bring them back. We make money. When you go national, now you're basically building a sales floor of basically people, just on the phone. So I had to make a pivot. I didn't know the KPIs, didn't know the numbers, didn't know. I marketed locally, but didn't market nationally. So I had to make a change though, because I wanted to scale it. So in 2019, October, I decided to go national. We would set up a national Google AdWords campaign, national Bing campaign, change our CRM, told my whole team we're going national. In January, pretty much all my team quit except 3 people, 3 girls. Gia, Devin, and Jubilee quit. So everybody quit. So I'm starting as essentially my whole entire team. Everybody got up and walked out because they said, you're crazy. You can't do national. What are you, nuts? This isn't going to work. It's a different business model. Can't do it. So I started January of 2020 with 3 people. That's my whole entire team. And I'm like, guys, we're going national. Let's go. Come on. So I was signing contracts on the phone. I hired a guy that first month. He got him to sign contracts. We signed 40 deals in January, 40 deals out of the gate. And that's when you sign everything. I signed a Detroit deal for $2,000, right? And you couldn't sell it for $2,000. So I signed 40 deals, and we closed one and made $3,299 on a little crappy house in Indianapolis. That was our first deal, national deal closed in 2020. Then obviously what happened was COVID. COVID happened in March 8th of 2020. The whole country shut down. All those people that walked away from their jobs because thought I was crazy going over the phone, guess who all started knocking back on the door wanting their jobs back? Everyone wanted their jobs back. And the people that I was with are going, holy cow, how did you know that over the phone was the thing to do? So we doubled down. I hired my COO at the time, pulled him. He was making $400,000 a year at a large, he'd run a sales team, a calling sales team of about 1,000 people nationally. So I pulled him $400,000 a year, got him started in March of 2020, trained him over Zoom, and started building my team. Now we have about 15 people in the organization. Now we're back up to doing millions of dollars a year in revenue, got our KPIs dialed in. And we're doing about 15 to 20 properties a month right now, predominantly selling to retail buyers, right? Now, before, and interesting, back in 2019, I told my team, back actually in 2020, I told the 3 people, I said, listen, we're going to sell everything, to retail buyers. Eventually it's going to be coming up because I knew we were at really frothy in the market. There was inverted yield curve back in August of 2019. So I knew some sort of recession was coming. And then so I just started talking about that, putting it out there. Then Corey came out with Novations, which was amazing. He's helped me through the process. He's helped Nick Perry through the process with Novations, helped a lot of people. And then we just kind of created a hybrid model. So, cash buyers is predominantly what we used to do. And now, Novations is, probably 1 to 2 deals. We do our cash a month now. The majority are selling to retail, conventional, FHA or VA buyers. That's all of our transactions we do right now. We're cranking it. So right now we're on a hiring basically frenzy. We're hiring as many people as we possibly can. When it comes to nationally, leads are unlimited. We're averaging about 400 leads a month right now. We could do 4,000 leads a month if we had the people. So we have constant hiring on all channels. My COO, that's his entire initiative, is hiring. And I believe right now, currently in the marketplace, you see this squeeze right now that's going on in the marketplace between, sellers not wanting to sell, buyers because they have low mortgage, inventory's low, affordability's at record lows right now, affordability rates. So you see all this stuff going on in the market right now, and I've been through it before in 2008. And I can tell you, we are at the precipice of something really, really big, right? And if you know anything about, which obviously every guys, we got some really smart people here, is that you want to invest when the Federal Reserve is quantitative easing. You want to basically pull back buying houses, and buying real estate when they're quantitative tightening. So I built an apartment portfolio. I have about close to 1,000 units, student housing units I own right now. But I pulled back when it came to actually buying, unless the opportunity is right with a seller. I think seller financing in commercial, mini storage space, maybe large multifamily is good right now, especially if you can lock in a long-term rate. But for the future right now, we are in the best place, our niche, what we're doing right here, right now, which is wholesaling to retail buyers. If you look back historically, in 2005, there was 7 million sales that happened. In 2008, there was 4 million sales, still 4 million. The worst real estate recession in history, there's still 4 million sales. So you have 4 million sales, 7 million is the best. Last year we had over 6 million sales. So even if we go in the worst recession and it's bad, we're still going to do 4 to 5 million sales, retail sales in the market, which was predominantly retail sales in 2007, 2008. We have plenty of demand to sell into as a real estate wholesaler. So the thing is now, and we have the sellers now that are coming to us in droves that are more motivated now than ever. So you got the perfect storm. You have a demand to basically sell into, and then you got buyers that are understanding the market shifting, and we can be in the middle and we can make an absolute fortune. That's why we're hiring. That's why we're doubling down. That's why we're increasing our marketing. And that's why we are, stepping up our game. So that's my 2 cents or 4 cents.
That's why you're the king of innovations, man.
He is. Corey's the king of innovations.
You're the king of retail buyer program, though, so it's all right. It's a bit of a spin-off, a bit of a different take than what we do. And it's. I'll tell you, man, the doing Novations or the retail buyer program, I think Sean hit the nail on the head there. You could do it in any kind of market. It doesn't matter if the Fed wrecks the market next year and we completely go on a downward spiral. You can always continue to sell to retail. The retail is going to be there. And it's just a matter of, locking up the deals at the right pricing, making sure you know how to negotiate. Juan knows about that. Juan's a master negotiator when it comes to trying to get the right pricing out of the seller. And so that's obviously critical too, but you can always sell to retail. And that's why, man, 2022, when I made the switch, man, it was, almost all my deals were novations. And I'll tell you, my average deal size wholesale nationwide was around $13,000. My average deal novation nationwide was around $33,000. It was a significant difference. And we're able to do more deals, more volume. Also too. So it was a double hitter, man. And it like I said, man, it really did save my business. Obviously I learned how to comp the properties right. And I learned how to go find cash buyers. Investor Lift came around, and finally I got on Investor Lift. That helped a lot with some of the cash buyers. But once I really kind of cracked the code of novations, I was like, why do I want to wholesale anymore? I'll just keep doing this. So it was great, and I would encourage anybody to learn it if you guys are thinking about doing it, especially if you're wholesaling.
Right. I think and what we do is a little bit different. It's actually, we do novations, but also we do what we call and I've learned this from actually Corey Boatwright, who actually came up with the term of RBP, retail buyer profits. And it's just a different twist. So what we do is we get a property under contract for obviously the best price. So when we talking to a seller, we obviously determine motivation, figure out their situation, figure out their problem, and we try to solve that problem. And when we obviously when we're talking to a seller, we want to get them to name the first number first. If they name a first number first, it's in the money, then we'll work with them to get the property signed ASAP. If the property's not in the money, it becomes a negotiation. Then we're going to name the low number first. And what we do is we're going to offer a low number pretty out of the gate. We have a calculator that we created for a team. I try to McDonald's everything because I want to make it a system that I repeat, rinse, and I can pull people in and it can happen fast. So we've developed a calculator. So we offer the low end of the calculator, which is essentially what cash transactions are going for. So it's pretty much 50, 60 cents on the dollar. So we take these numbers, 50, 60 cents on the dollar. And we're gonna low as that as at a cash offer number at that low number. Then we're gonna pivot to a mid to a high number of, say, 70 to 75%. We're going to pivot to the higher number with certain conditions. The conditions is they have to be responsive. The conditions is they have to get us pictures, and the conditions is that they understand that we're an investor. We're here to make a profit. We're going to sell the property to a retail buyer. So if they agreeable to those conditions, then we'll sign a contract with them. We'll list the property. We get an AIF, which is a attorney in fact. And we'll have them sign that. That gives us the ability to list the property. We're 100% transparent of exactly what we're going to do with the property, so there's no problems down line. Selling the property, we'll list the property, put it on the MLS. We typically list it lower than we'd anticipate to create, essentially, depending on the demand in the market, amount of pending sales, what pending sales are going for. We don't really look at sold, only just like a point of reference. We primarily compare properties off pending properties and what's active and try to be the lowest available property in the market for the comparable sale. List that property, and typically we get multiple offers on the property if it's a high demand market. We do properties in very small submarkets, but we've got to be in the 50-55% of value range on those properties. We still list it on the MLS, and we'll still sell those properties. We sell the properties in Ohio that are 1,100 population, and made 40 grand on properties in there. So that's our pretty much methodology to be able to do it. To get paid, what we're going to do is we let the offer determine how we're going to handle the transaction. If it's cash, then the realtor will send over a cash offer. We're either A, going to do an assignment contract, or B, what we're going to do is we're going to sign it as the AIF, get that contract, go to closing. We're going to record what's called a notice of interest on the property. It's essentially a lien on the property that will allow us to get paid. Then we go to closing. That notice of interest is released for a fee, just like you would do with a memorandum of sale. So we get paid that way on cash, or we get paid on that way on a cash deal we do an assignment. Or we just closed a deal in Uri, Florida, $106,000 deal. We made 106 grand on it, but we did a double escrow on that one because it was cash. So and we've done deals in California that are notice of interest. So that's one way we get paid, say, on cash. If it comes in FHA, VA, or conventional, then what we're going to do is we're going to sign the contract with the AIF, right? As the AIF, we're going to sign it, as the AIF. And now there's a contract between the seller and the buyer, us signed as AIF. Then we go to closing, we file a notice of interest, and we get paid out of closing on that lien release with a notice of interest at closing. So that is how we're doing pretty much about 95% of the transactions we're doing right now. Is predominantly what we're doing right now. And I've got at least over 50 deals on the board, and most of them are going to retail buyers right now. So
that's incredible, man. That is absolutely incredible. I have been following in your footsteps, both you and Corey, with the Novations, and I'm also doing the attorney in fact. I just have the agreement where I sign the attorney in fact with the seller, and they grant me the permission to list this property on the MLS and accept an offer. And that's currently what I'm doing. I'm very interested to know kind of how you navigate setting up the lien and making sure all of that gets paid out at closing.
Okay, so go ahead, Corey.
I was just going to say,
No, you
for
go ahead.
us, we made it extremely easy, and we used a company called Easy REI Closings. This was a transaction company out of Tennessee. I flew to Tennessee and trained their whole team on a weekend how to do novations, how all the paperwork works, and they would coordinate all that for me on every single deal. So they would help me record the notice of interest, they would record the release of interest, and they would make sure that I was receiving the monies that I was supposed to receive in the transaction, because I didn't want to do any of that in-house. You kind of hit the nail on the head there. Record, tracking everything, especially when you're doing 20, 40 deals at a time, it gets tough. And so like those guys would do it all for me and making sure that all the paperwork is correct, it was in order. I'm not good at organization. That's not my strong point. I'm a visionary, and I go out there and create a mess, and I need someone else to clean my mess up. And so I taught those guys how to do it, and they did it, rinse and repeat every single time. They would file the notice of interest. They would make sure the HUD was right, making sure the lien release was correct, that I was getting paid right, making sure all the numbers added up, and they would do the release for me too. But I just had to sign. I had to sign those. That's how we did it, to make sure that it was done the right way every single time. Because if I'd have leaned it on, if it had been on my shoulders or my team's shoulders when we were scaling, we were dropping the ball like crazy, because there was so much going on. And with Novations, it's back end heavy. It really is. It's a lot of work on the back end, and so like we were dropping the ball, deals would fall apart, and so like. When my friend was creating the transaction company, I was like, man, I'm going to fly out there and I want to teach your whole team how to do this. And I want you to do this for me every single day. And he did. And they ran a flawless operation for me. And not flawless, but like near like flawless for me, taking care of all the back end stuff for me. So that's how we did it.
Yeah, I just saw a comment that said Corey is king, right? So he actually trained David Old's company, which is Easy REI, which I do highly suggest. So, and I've recently just onboarded with them probably about 3 or 4 months ago. They're handling all of our transactions now. We used to send all our stuff to Clothesline Settlements, national company. We kind of blew them up. Yeah, we blew them up. Gave them too many transactions, they blew up, right? And then we send them to what is it? What was the other one? Blueprint.
Yeah,
Blueprint. We blew up them too. They didn't work. So then we send another one. For American Title, great company. I love the people there, but we gave them too many files and they couldn't handle it. So the problem with scaling, right? Either I have to hire a complete in-house team, but you still got to get title done. So what do you do? So, and I have a team. I have a couple of transaction coordinators. I have dispo people and a guy that manages and handles the negotiation of the deals. But the bottom line is that when we had negotiate, and when we had all these properties we were dealing with, it would bottleneck title and everything stopped, right? So and then you have problems now where they're not responding to critical items when you have closing days and no one's, they're not responding. So the bottom line is what happened is we got to a point where we had to go to Easy REI. We put all of our deals with Easy REI, and now it's not a bottleneck because they have relationships all over the country.
Hey, we got a guest. We got a live guest. I brought a live guest on. Got Mr. Nick Perry with us up here.
Nick Perry in the house.
I was just talking to Nick Perry.
There he is. There he is. He's out here. He's in Mexico buying a car.
What up, bro?
What's going on, buddy?
What's going on?
I'm here buying a car in Mexico right now, so
I'm doing the same here in Puerto Rico. I got to buy a
here
car.
doing the lease paperwork and getting everything situated. I've got limited battery, so just want to give you a heads up. But I wanted to join in and say hey and provide any value I can.
I think we we're just talking about you, just giving you credit for the for Easy REI, giving you credit for going nationwide before everybody did. You kind of figured it out. You helped me go nationwide, so appreciate
I
it.
remember flying to your office and going, what in the F are you doing here? I bought your whole team beer. Remember that? I bought all that beer. And then
You bought a pallet of Bud Light.
I took notes for the weekend. I went home and I was like, all right, here's how we're going nationwide.
That was when Bud Light was still cool. Yes.
Yeah, that's when Bud Light was still cool, right?
Yeah, no bueno anymore.
No bueno. Yeah, so what are we drinking now, right?
Right now it's a non-alcoholic espresso martini. So just out here enjoying.
There we go.
Enjoying the vibes of Mexico, and I just moved to Cancun from Panama, so life is good.
Oh, is that where you did Cancun? Are you down in Playa?
No, I'm in actual Cancun. So behind me is Isla Mujeres, and then I've got the hotel zone right to the south of me. So if you guys are ever in Cancun, make sure you let me know.
Well, you know I will, bro. You know I will. And if you're ever in Puerto Rico, bro, you better let me know.
Absolutely.
I'll show you the island, man. I mean, tomorrow I'm having a round table, if you will, with a bunch of crypto whales. That's going to be a fun one.
Amazing.
Already have 21.
That's incredible.
Members.
Yeah.
Nice. Cool. So we're talking Novations, we're talking RBP. So I'll let John ask the questions, but because it's his show. But how many are you doing? You're doing a lot. We just interviewed, but we're doing a lot of. You're doing a lot of RBPs and Novations a month, aren't you?
That's a huge part of our business right now. So if you guys are listening to this and you don't have RBP or Novations as part of your strategy right now, just selling to cash buyers, doing traditional wholesale is not going to get you to that multiple seven-figure business anymore. The times have changed, and you need to adapt to continue to grow. It's just like any business. If you're not continuing to evolve with the latest strategies, you're not going to continue to grow quarter over quarter, year over year. So that's been a massive part of, I would say 30 to 40% of our business is Novations right now.
Nice, brother.
It's interesting though. I look back over the years, and you and I have been doing it for a while. Corey's been doing it for a while, but I look back over the years of like, why the heck didn't we figure this out like 15 years ago? Do you know what I mean? Or 10 years ago. I'm like, what? Because that's the holy grail question is how, as a wholesaler, can you sell a property to a retail buyer? It's the best buyer you could sell to. Yes, it might take a little bit longer, but they're going to pay more in the end, period. Why would you give up 70%, less repairs, less fee? Why would you give up the money on the table when you have a retail buyer that's going to buy the thing retail? So, I feel kind of dumb that I didn't figure it out before 2020. You know what I mean? I'm like, what the heck was I thinking? And it's so simple. Once you do one, then you go, okay, I got it. Right, I got it. You're gonna get that one done, and then it's just like once I got my team over the first one, then it was like, then they just got all the way that one. So
necessity is the mother of all invention, and as it got more difficult to move deals to cash buyers, we found other strategies like good entrepreneurs do, right? Yeah, we moved to what works. And so that became more of a priority. And I think that's when we all figured it out. And Sean, you were a big part of it. Corey, you were a big part of it. Corey was the one that taught me Novations. I flew to his office and he spent a day with me. And similar to the way I showed him nationwide, he showed me Novation. Yep. And it changed my life.
Yep, totally. 100%.
What's crazy is
the power of community too is just like being in proximity with the right people. You can both grow.
Oh yeah, 100%. I've only been able to be successful because of the people around me, man. All I do is copy and paste. I don't reinvent the wheel. I see what Sean does. I'm like, okay, I'm going to copy that and I'm going to paste it, right? I saw what Nick did. I copy it and paste it. With Novations, I copied, a guy who was doing it on the local model, but I gave it to my attorney. He kind of recreated it a little bit, and then I implemented it, right? And that's all. It's only because of my network. Only because of my network, man. I'm able to do what I do.
Corey, so when we joined that mastermind together, the contracts that we got from our mentor had the word Novation there for years, and we did nothing with it. We went right past that word and not even know the power that the agreement alone had. It was so wild. And it wasn't until the mastermind that time that we figured it out.
Yeah, you were in the room that day when my light bulb went on. I was like, oh my gosh, he's doing what? If I could do that nationwide, it was a pain. I had a pain and I saw a solution to that pain. And I was like, okay, I need to go home and implement this because that's the solution to my pain.
You said something very important. It seems like I'm in the room every time you have an epiphany.
Yep.
Yeah, they always say when the student's ready, the teacher will appear. You know what I mean? So I the same thing with me. I mean, I probably should have went nationwide a long time ago. I remember I saw Nick go nationwide on it, and I had a conversation with him, and he kind of showed. And actually, you know what? The thing, Nick, that really got me when you talked about nationwide is the scalability of what we do, right? The scalability. So right now, I know, right? If you're actually doing pay-per-click advertising, Bing, or even direct mail, even TV. TV is a great model nationwide, but you could get literally, if you had the team to do it, 50, 100 people, you could generate for about $100 a lead. You could generate on average 3, 4, 5,000 leads a day if you wanted. The leads are there. I mean, I look at my campaigns right now, and I'm about maybe a 2 to 3% of my full potential on those campaigns. And I bet, Nick, you're probably the same exact way. Because, I mean, I'm spending about $50,000 a month, maybe $60,000 a month on marketing right now. And I know I could spend $60,000 a day on that and still be not at full capacity. So the potential in the whole thing is around leads and people. If you can generate the leads and you can keep those leads at or under $100, and you can convert those leads on average of 30 leads a deal or less. I got some of my reps are converting at 7 to 12 leads per deal. That's going to keep your cost per deal around $2,300. If you keep your cost per deal about $2,300, and your average deal size, is about 30 grand. If you do that, you got a highly profitable. You're running the business about 40-45% margin. And you can scale that on scale, right? Meaning you could do 100 deals, 200 deals, 300 deals a month, and it's all operational. Here's the most exciting thing, and nobody's really done this in the industry yet, but you can sell your business at about a 25 to 35 multiple on your monthly earnings, right? Monthly profit. So if you're running at a 45% profit and you are running at and you're doing 300,000 a month profit, right? You can sell on about a 35 multiple of that number, which is about $10 million, right? Or more, right? Depending on what you're doing. So there, I mean, you could turn around, I mean, I've seen even bigger numbers where you could sell your numbers for even, so then your business for even bigger. So whatever you're doing right now, look at your business as a potential sellable. Make sure you have all your systems and processes, because you could exit at a pretty big number, down the road on 3 to 5 years after building the thing.
I think that's the thing. I think most people fail with the systems process when it comes to actually developing around the novations. Because I've seen a lot of people try to do the novations process. Obviously, I learned how to do novations from Corey too. I remember I was sat down with Corey and we were all at dinner for the crypto thing, and I was telling him, I was like, you don't even know this, but 2 years ago you taught me how to do novations, and so now him and Juan are trying to pull me into crypto as well. So we'll see, we'll see. But there's the biggest thing that I think that I see people fail when it comes to terms of novations is they don't have a process to actually move the deal correctly through an actual system to make sure that they're staying true to what they tell the seller and what they tell the buyer, and making sure that they have a direct agent in place that can actually perform on the deal, and that there actually is a process, that you're not just like trying to just sling a situation to the seller and offering them this big, grand dreamscape that you might not be able to deliver on. So, I mean, I think that's where most people fail, is in the actual process of the novation, not necessarily pitching the novation. Pitching the novation is the biggest, that's the biggest scare thing for everybody. Everybody's afraid to pitch it. I don't know how to pitch it. I don't know how to tell the seller. I don't know how to talk to him to get him. It's like, actually, that's the easiest part of the whole entire deal, to actually get them to agree to the novation. The hardest part is actually staying true to the process and making sure that you have something in place to make sure that you can actually perform at the end of the day. And that's what Corey's system teaches you over everything else. It's like really the process of like identifying the right agent, because there is a difference between the right agent and the wrong agent when it comes to novation. I'm sure he'll talk about that. And I'm sure Sean Terry, can talk about that as well from his end. But you can easily get involved with the wrong agent who doesn't care about the deal in the way that they should. And then now the deal is falling through simply because of the fact that you didn't put the right systems and process into place. And you also have to remember that novations are something that's going to take a much longer time for the deal to usually come to fruition at the end of the day. So you can't expect to be able to say, hey, we locked up this deal, we're going to make 100K on this deal or whatever. We have a 100K spread here. But we also have to understand they might take us 3 to 4 months to get this whole thing wrapped up and closed out. So we have to make sure that we put the correct language into place and the correct process into place to relay that correctly to the seller, and also have that on the end to the buyer. And that's the biggest thing that I see always fail at the end of the day when it comes to terms with people trying to do novations for the first time.
Well, I'll tell you,
you're 100% right. First off, you nailed it. 100% right. You're absolutely right. Go ahead, Corey.
I was just going to say, setting the right expectations with the seller up front is freaking crucial, man. And the problem with wholesalers, I'll tell you the number one problem, I've seen this when I had a mastermind, we had a bunch of students. The number one problem is that they're used to telling the seller whatever they feel like they need to tell the seller to get the contract. And that's not the case. Oh yeah, we're going to close in 3 weeks. Oh yeah, no, we don't need any showings. Or yeah, we can do it in one showing. And they get in the habit of trying to please the seller instead of setting the right expectations, because they just want that agreement so bad. It's FOMO. They want to FOMO and then they'll say anything. And that's not the way. You need to set the proper expectations up front. It is crucial. But if you do that, the seller knows you have less deals that fall apart. I promise you'll have less deals fall apart because the seller knows you're going to take 3 months. The seller knows there's going to be an inspection period. The seller knows that it's going to be on market because you have set those expectations. Sean talks about it all the time about, making sure the seller is okay, or they're aware that we're going to make money off of, selling to a third party buyer.
Yeah, I remember coaching your team, and that was probably one of their biggest hurdles. Is number one, to train a team that you had virtual to do just cash deals was hard enough, and then I had to go in there and re-educate them on what this process really is, and then how to explain and pitch this novation thing. And they got better at doing novation pitch than doing the wholesale side, which was impressive, because they would go line by line and let them know, we are not the buyer. We will have a third party purchaser. This is going to be the process. We do need to get into this property. It wasn't maybe, and it could, and maybe it's these people, or maybe a contractor knows. This is the process. And because of that, we can provide you with X net offer to you. And they got really good. These people were out in Egypt locking up novation deals day after day, which is impressive.
It was impressive back in the day. And I'll touch on one other thing that you touched on, Dan, is you're talking about the getting the right realtors. And I'll give a little nugget here today. One key that how we found the right realtors is the first question we'd ask them when we would cold call these realtors in that market is, do you work with investors? Do you work with wholesalers?
Right.
If they work with investors and wholesalers, then it's highly probable that they'll probably do your novation, or they understand at least a little about that. And when you find somebody, you create a Rolodex. I mean, we had a massive Rolodex nationwide of all our favorite realtors who we use. And I tell you, if you get one in the same market, you're going to use that realtor because they know they did good by you. But that's one of the first questions we ask. If they're like, oh no, I don't work with wholesalers. Oh no, well, then this click. That was one of the first qualifying questions.
And you have to stay on top of them. I think the biggest thing too is like
You need to
if
know the
you're working
process.
with somebody, if you're working with somebody for the first time, especially if you don't know their process as a realtor, like it's very important to stay on top of them as the investor. Because remember, even though you're giving it to them, it's not their responsibility to get this deal closed. It works the same way if you walk up any deal. It is always your job to get this deal done and closed, not for just yourself, but for the person that you promised that you're selling their house. You're going to get this deal closed at this price that you promised them at. So you need to be doing your due diligence in terms of making sure that you are relaying that seriousness over to the realtor by following up. Hey man, I just want to know how many showings we get this week. What's the situation looking like? We got any solid offers going on? Can you explain to me the breakdown of what you think the issue is of why we're not getting what we need? Do we need to drop the price? Even though we have 60 to 90 days, we have to work now because it may take the right buyer 30 days to just get the funding for the deal because we're working with retail. We're working with trying to get the right person into the right house for the right price. And so to maximize our profit on that end, we might need to work with someone who is going to have to go get financing for this deal. So the bank might have to come in and make sure that we're getting that. So is this realtor doing enough background on the seller? Are they just trying to get rid of the deal? Or are they just trying to make a quick check? Do they care about the deal? So many things to get involved because, you can have someone come in, take immaculate pictures. They'll do drone shots. They'll do all these cool things. And then it's like when it comes to the time to actually pull people in to sell the house, what is this realtor's marketing strategy? Are they marketing their properties that they do consistently themselves? Are they marketing those properties effectively? Are they getting those properties sold within a due amount of time? Or are they taking consistently a long amount of time to get their own deals sold that aren't even related to you? There's so many things that you have to consider when you're looking for the right realtor. It's almost as if you're literally running a job interview, a background interview on this one person, because you need to make sure that they're on the same page that you are, that, hey, we got this person over here. We both want to make money. The seller wants to make money. We make sure we put the right buyer in place to get this deal done in the right way. So we have to make sure that we're all on the same page to make sure that we're going to be able to fulfill our promise to not only ourselves, but to also this person that we promised we're going to get them this house sold for this price.
I'd like to introduce to the stage the king of SMS. This is the real Mike S. Martin. This guy's an absolute maniac when it comes to SMS. He's got his systems dialed in, and he has shared with me that he actually took Sean Terry's course and he's implementing it in real time. He was the one who actually took me step by step through my first Novation on this Georgia deal. Mike, thank you so much for joining us, brother. I'm really excited. We can't hear you.
We can't hear you, Mike.
Oh, I'm in the presence of some goats, I see. Sean Terry, I bought your course, Remote Millions, when I first started doing deals. I finally closed a deal. First thing I invested in your courses. I bought a few of your courses. And then I started doing novations off of Corey Geary's course. Mm-hmm. I got that course in November and just started implementing it right away. And that's our main focus is novations right now.
So I'm looking for your course on texting. Where's that?
There we go. Hey, there we go.
Hey. Where's the course?
When is he dropping the course? When he dropping the course?
I'll send you my Calendly link. All right, Sean?
There we go. There we go.
Yeah, my team sets up everybody's SMS, but we don't have a course for it. But
cool.
He's making too much money. He doesn't want to give away the secret recipe.
No, not even. No, man, I really respect everybody on the stage. I appreciate you guys hopping on here and sharing. Learned a lot from Corey and Sean. I appreciate you guys.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks for being on.
That I'd love to talk about is how to set the right expectations with the seller when we're on the phone so they know what to expect when we send them the agreement, so that they know what to expect when we do host a showings, when we do get in touch with an agent that's going to list this property. What is it that we should be saying to these people so that we can accurately articulate what this process will entail?
Juan is the GOAT.
I would say
the right terms.
Yeah. And I think for us, what we do, and it's been a process I think we initially, when we started the process, we were afraid to be 100% transparent with the seller that we're not the buyer and we're going to find a buyer. Yep. So I think we went through that phase, and then a lot of deals kind of went south because the seller's like, well, what the heck you doing? Blah, 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 blah. And then we kind of then we morphed to where now that we're 100% transparent and they choose to the higher price, and we do what's called the pivot. And I know Corey talks about the pivot, and the pivot is that, listen, here's what cash buyers are buying for. Here's what we're comfortable for us to pull the trigger. Now, if it's a deal and it's at, say, 50, maybe 60 cents on the dollar, we will pull the trigger. We will take it down. We will, clean it up. We'll stick it on the MLS and sell it. So if someone wants to sell quick and they're willing to sell at 50, 60 cents on the dollar, then we'll just take it down and close it. So, but the majority, 99% of the time, you'll come in with a lower number at 50, 60 cents on a dollar and say, listen, here's where we're comfortable at pulling the trigger, right? For us to get for us in this current market, with the uncertainty, with inflation, with the Federal Reserve, with affordability, with all this stuff going on, and your house and the fix up, we are, we're comfortable at this number. That's what the underwriter came back at. That's what cash buyers are buying for. We're at this low number. So if you want to move forward on a low number, we can, or we can pivot to this higher number, and that's closer to what you're asking, but it comes with conditions. And so if you're willing to accept these conditions, then I can move forward at this higher number. Are you willing to, do you want to hear the conditions? And what's going to happen is they're going to say yes. Yeah, I want to hear the conditions because I want the higher number. There's no way I can do X dollars. So from that standpoint, then we list the conditions. Condition number one is you got to be responsive when it comes to a communication with our team. Number two is we need pictures ASAP, and we're going to have them take pictures. If they don't have a smartphone and they can't take pictures, then send us pictures of the property. We get a front, we get a back, we get a side, and we get two in each room. So if you can't send us pictures of the property, we'll send notable notaries out there within 24, 48 hours. They'll get pictures for us professionally. And then we'll have pictures of the property. We don't want pictures holding up for us getting the property on the MLS. Our goal is within 72 hours. So we try to track everything, how fast we can get it listed, how fast we can get it an offer on that property, how fast we can get it closed. It's critically important to keep the deal alive. So once they hear the conditions to that and they agree, and the third condition is we need to get people in the property. I need to get an agent in there, a potential inspector in there. I need to get some potential buyers in the property. I need to get some eyeballs on that property. So once they agree to that, then we say, listen, we're an investment firm. We need to make a profit, right? If you're okay with us making a profit and you're okay with us and you don't care how we're going to make a profit, then we can move forward. If you have an issue with us making a profit and you care on how we make a profit, then we can't move forward in this transaction and we're not your buyer. We can't work together. So if they say, okay, we're comfortable with you making a profit and we're comfortable with you and you don't really care how you make a profit and you're okay with they're accepting their strike price, whatever the strike price is, then you can essentially move on. And now you tell them, say, listen, we're going to find a buyer for the property. We're going to list the property on the MLS. And we're going to take care of everything, right? You're not going to have to fix a thing. And if there's any fixes, we're going to take care of it. You're not going to have to pay any commissions or closing costs. We're going to pay those commissions and closing costs. Any type of hassles, any title issues, we're going to take any title issues. You don't have to stage the property, paint it, make it look pretty. We're not going to have to deal with all that. So we're going to take care of everything. You're going to get your strike price. We're going to turn around, list it, and we're going to stick it on the MLS. We're going to find a buyer, and we're going to handle all the headaches. And if you're okay with that, we can move forward. If you're not, then we can kill the deal. What do you want to do? So we pretty much leave it plain and simple with them and in a nice, sticky, sweet manner. I'm being pretty direct right now, but based upon if I'm talking to a grandmother or I'm talking to someone, I'm obviously going to mimic or be like a chameleon to who they are. But essentially that's the bottom line. So we start with a low number, pivot to the mid number, high number, and then we get them to agree to commission the conditions. If they agree to the conditions, then we move forward. We sign documents. They sign the AIF. They know what the AIF is to give us the ability to list the property on the MLS. They know we're going to list it. They know they're going to see a listing on the MLS. And what we do is we find on average, if we look at our deals, we find a buyer in about 15 days, right? We close that property after we find the buyer in about 32 days. So that's our timeline that we really work on to compress the best we possibly can. To be able to do that, we have to list it within 72 hours. That means we don't want to have anything in the way for us listing the property. I have a full-time person. That's all they do is they list properties all day long. We either list them on, we do use broker lists for a list at flat fee, or if we have a relationship in that market, we'll get it listed ASAP. And our relationships know that we work on speed. We need to get it done ASAP. We don't want to wait around. So then we list the property on the MLS. Now, seller comes back and goes, oh my gosh, I didn't know you were going to list it. That never happens. It did happen initially when we first started kind of doing this thing, right? We're just slinging contracts, and all of a sudden sellers are like, oh, what are you doing? Oh my gosh, you're selling. We don't have any problems with the release being 30, 40, 50, 60 grand. Our average deal size is $30,000. So we don't have any problem with a release on there. We don't have a problem with listing. We don't have a problem with showing, because everything is done on the front end with the seller. And if it's all done on the front end, and it's specifically, remember, you're the one that's going to take on them. You're the one that's going to take on their problem. You're the one that's going to take on their title issue. You're the one that's going to take on their house, and your team is going to spend time on it. So they have to agree to these conditions, and they have to understand the process. If they don't, I got 4,000 other people in our database I got to call.
So I think the big thing is, like, what you also want to do too is you want to make sure, because just like going off of what people were saying over here on the side chat, it's like off of what somebody said, you want to make sure that you're not just going off and just saying, like, you're not simply pitching it as, we're just listing this property for you. Right?
No,
like that's not how you're pitching this. And I think that's a big confusion for a lot of people. So that's the immediate objection I always hear when people always go, oh, well, Novation, like, well, I mean, why wouldn't the seller just list the property on the MLS themselves? Like, oh, well, that's a great question, but that's not really what this process really is. And that's not how we're pitching it to the sellers when we're talking to them on the phone. And I want to pass it to Corey, because I know Corey has a great process of how he taught, his main acquisitions manager at the time, when she used to go in and pitch the deal the right way to the sellers to lock these people up. There's a right way to present what you're trying to do in a way where you're presenting it as if you're providing value to them. And then there's a wrong way to say it. And a lot of people go in with the wrong way of just like, oh, well, we could, we do have a process where we could list the property for you and all that stuff. It's like, that's going to be an immediate red flag, right? So Corey, do you want to talk a little bit more about that process and how to represent yourself during that call?
Absolutely. I mean, and Sean hit the nail on the head with it. And you got to remember, these sellers are calling you for one reason. And the reason is for convenience. It's the convenience that they want this problem gone. They don't want to deal with all the headache. Why don't they want to list it? A lot of times it's because they don't want to deal with the inspection and the repairs. They don't want they want the convenience of this thing gone, and that's what cash offers do. The cash offers are able to move the problem rather quick with no pain. Well, if we could do the exact same thing, but just by doing what we call the concierge service. Now, that's what we called it in our company, was a concierge service, because it basically was a white glove service that was going to take care of all the pains and headaches for them. It was the convenience that sold them. It was the reason why they would agree to the concierge service, because we really stressed about the convenience. And the biggest thing, man, I'm telling you, is because of the inspection. Every time, like Sean hit it, when you go into the inspection, you're going to take care of the repairs, and you don't got to worry about any of that. That is a big relief to the seller. Right. Massive relief, because what do most inspections come back with? $3,000, $5,000, $10,000, $15,000. You know, it just depends on the property and the condition. But yeah, the convenience factor was critical. And I'll just give you a little bit of our scripting that we would, one of my favorite ways to lock up novations is after we agree on a cash offer with the seller. So always lead with cash. And Sean hit it on earlier. You're always going to lead with cash. And this is if you're doing seller financing, sub 2, I don't care what strategy in real estate you're doing, you always lead with cash because of the anchor that it does for you. And what we do is even if we can get them to agree to a cash offer, we would send all the paperwork. And this is a little trick we used to do. We'd send all the novation paperwork, but we'd throw in like maybe $3,000 to $5,000 extra that they did not anticipate we're getting. So let's say we agreed on 120. Well, I would send the agreement at 125, and then I would say, hey, Mr. Seller, we have great news. We have this new program called our concierge service. Now, not many properties qualify. This is a takeaway. This is adding the scarcity effect. Not many properties qualify for the service, but I worked really hard and pushed hard to get your property qualified. Sellers gonna be like, well, what's the concierge service? Well, as investors, we excel at bringing buyers who are willing to pay more money, considering we have to sell our fix and flips to an M buyer. We accomplish this just through a network of buyers, realtors in the MLS. So we will be able to give you an additional $3K more for your property by doing the concierge service. Would that sound like something you'd be interested in? Sellers will be like, well, tell me more. Well, fortunately, all we need is some additional paperwork to be signed, some walkthroughs during the process, some additional time. We'll handle all the realtors, title costs, and the inspections. The only thing that you would require from you is to sign the final closing paperwork, and you'll be able to sit back, relax, and collect your check. How does that sound to you? And that's how a lot of our deals would get locked up. And basically, if you can dangle the carrot on the back end, be fully transparent with your offer, but everything's going to go through with the offer. Fully transparency is key. By dangling that little carrot, now you have a novation deal basically at wholesale pricing.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
Love it. Nailed it.
Correct.
Nailed it. Bye. I think the biggest.
It's been a while since I pitched that. I was like, man, can I still pitch that?
I think you did good. I think the biggest thing is understanding where do we add value, right, Corey?
Yes.
It's like where do we add value? Because people go, what? Well, why don't I just list it? You got to figure out where we add value. If you understand what our value add is, and your team understands what your value is, then it's easy to pitch something that you believe in, right? And my whole was my sales team is I got to get them to believe that we are the best option for that seller. If that seller's in a distressed situation and they want to sell, so they have to believe that across the board. And believing what your value add is to that seller is critically important. And we've had sellers that had the house is trashed. There's a vagrant living in the property. It's an absentee owner, and they're cutting checks for the mortgage every single month, and they're at distraught. They can't sleep. So we said, listen, we're going to take care of everything. You don't have to deal with a vagrant. You don't have to deal with repairs. You don't even have to see the property. We'll go out there and we'll send pictures out there. We'll deal with the whole situation, and you don't have to deal. You're going to get your number, right? And we'll handle everything else. You don't have to handle a thing. If you okay that we're going to make a profit, you don't care how we're going to make a profit, then you and I can have a great relationship. We'll do a contract and we'll move forward. And then it's fine, right? And then if you truly handle the title problems, the vagrant problems, the tenant problems, the condition problems, the locational problems, all that, if you handle all that stuff, even if it's an FHA and they want a roof done, handle it, and they don't have to handle it, then what happens is you'll win them in the process, and you'll get 5-star BBB reviews, and you'll have a good business.
Right. So I would chime in here because a lot of people are chiming on what's the difference? Why can't they're just going to tell you, I'll just hire a realtor, but a realtor is not going to fix your roof. A realtor is not going to fix your title problems. The realtor is not going to do an eviction. the realtor's not going to do any of those. They're not going to do it for free. They're going to charge you a commission, right? And if the property is not up to par, what ends up happening is they're going to ask you to please reduce your price some more, right? To try to sell this property. But they're not going to add that type of value. So a lot of times when you guys think, oh, but they could just hire a realtor. No. Unfortunately, realtors, I love realtors. I work with a ton of realtors. Probably all of my friends are realtors. But they do their traditional work. They're looking for a property that they can stage or clean up, and they can pass inspection with a breeze so that they can list it on the market, do a couple calls with some buyer agents, show the properties, and get this thing done. They're not in the business of what we do, which is solve problems and add value. Even if it's something simple like one Novation where it didn't pass inspection just because the stupid water heater, the washer wasn't on there or something ridiculous. It cost $20. It failed inspection.
Right.
Someone doesn't know what to do. So here I am as a savior, spend the $20 to get a $30,000 deal done. Like,
you get that in there as quickly as possible.
Get the washer. And so that's the value that you bring when you do a Novation deal. And it just obviously it depends on the seller and how flexible they are as well, because you have to be transparent. They have to understand what is it that you're bringing to the table so that you're able to go ahead and do this process for them that someone else can't, right?
It was the same when you pitch in cash offer. You heard the same rebuttals when you're pitching cash, and when you still have to lean on the value you're bringing as a cash buyer. It's no different. It really isn't.
True. 100%. And if your team believes that and understands that, because the realtor is going to go over, they're going to say, fix this, fix that, clean this, store this. And then if you come over and say, you don't have to do anything, we'll take care of everything. Then it gives a relief and it creates the value that you can come in and do it. And they're going to want to work with you. But I think our biggest problem right now in the industry that I've seen, and I do lots of Zoom, lots of students and stuff like that. People are missing it because number one, they don't know how to comp properties in this current market, and they don't know how to comp properties in remote markets, and they don't know how to comp properties in our current market of what's going on. And they're missing the boat, so they're signing contracts too high, and if they sign too high, you're inevitably screwed out of the gate. You're not going to be able to sell it, and you're going to be screwed. The second thing is that a lot of sellers that are coming in are distressed, and they're distressed. They have title issues, they have probate issues, they have property issues, and they have tenant issues. And I remember my team back when they would get all bent out of shape because they have a problem with a seller. Oh my gosh, that's a problem with a seller, blah, blah, blah. I was like, listen, that's why we get paid. That's why we make 50 grand. That's why we make 30 grand. That's why we make 100 grand, because we solve problems. Embrace the problems, want the problems, give me the problems, because the more problems you get, the more money you're going to make. So don't get pissed.
Wait. You're telling me that you can't just have a property with no problems, the perfect property. You can't just list it on the MLS and make 100 grand.
That happens, and it's rare, and it's like the 1 in 20. And those are like gifts from God that come in because you've been living right. You know what I mean? But
we have to actually do things with a title company.
Yes, and you have to solve problems. We got a situation with it's like 7 heirs on a property that quit claim the property back from like 20 years ago. So it's like but guess what? We're tenacious, and we're not going to give up, and we're gonna bring that property across the finish line, because if we don't, no one else will. That property's going to sit there and burn, so we got to fix it.
Yep. Yeah, very well said. That he hit the nail on the head.
That's very important, because I think a lot of people think, like, too, just in terms of just overall wholesaling, I hear a lot of people just go, oh, well, this deal, it's got too many problems, or this is going on, or whatever. It's like, I can't tell you how many deals that we close every single month that have, this going on with title, or this, we can't find the actual owner that needs the sign, or, we have to hunt this. I've called agents from the DEA that are friends of mine and had them hunt people down to basically, through an FBI contact, to get them at closing on time to sign the papers so that the power of attorney could get the deal, done. So it's, like you made a fantastic point. It's like this is why we get paid $20,000, $50,000, $75,000. What else do you make in the money for, right? Like, what kind of work are you putting in? What value? I always say, like, what is the value that you're providing,
Right.
in exchange to get the money that you're asking for, right? What is that you're providing? And if you find you're constantly in a struggle where you're having a hard time getting a deal to sell or getting a deal done, a lot of times it's because you're trying to like cut too much out of the middle and you're trying to go towards an easy route and I don't understand why this is so hard. I don't understand why this isn't working for me. It's like, because you're not putting enough in there. There's not enough being put into the process when you're in to actually make the money that you're asking for.
This shit ain't easy, man. I remember I had one deal.
Easy.
I had one deal where we found the heir and he was living in Mexico. We had paid for him to be shuttled over to the embassy so we could send a notary to sign off. I mean, this is to the extent we went. We found him in Mexico, paid for his transportation, paid for the notary to meet him at the embassy. And this was an heir that was like, he didn't have any idea he had ownership in a house.
Jeez. I think it's being absolutely 100% tenacious in realizing, and then getting I really like the idea of getting the team completely sold on the fact that the reason why we get paid is helping other people solve their real estate problems. And if that's your mission statement, that's what we do, and then we want to be the best at doing that, then we're going to have a high standard, right? And then we're going to go out there and we are going to display that to our sellers. We're going to persuade our sellers that we're the best option. We're going to believe we're the best option out there. And, and if they do have a problem, we can be there to help them.
Perfect.
So what else?
I think that there have been a lot of gems dropped in today's call. I'm not sure how you are all doing on time. If we maybe have some time to bring up some members of the community to come up and ask you some questions. That is one of the benefits of being in a amazing
Discord
like Discord. Yeah.
This is new for me, man. This is that's exciting.
Yeah, we use Discord, but I don't think I've ever done it like this before. I think it's pretty cool.
Oh,
that is cool.
I'd love to help you out, man, in any way that I can. I was the one that kind of structured the Discord in terms of the channels and all this. I cannot take credit for what this has evolved into by any stretch of the imagination. This was certainly not me alone, but I'd be more than willing to help you out in any way that I can in terms of the back end stuff.
Cool. Great job. Appreciate it.
Now let's bring some audience members up.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we're going to start allowing requests. Please feel free to raise your hand and come and join us up on the stage. If you have a question, you can tap that little hand raise button. We've got the man himself, Savion, joining us.
He's median.
What's going on, guys? How you guys doing?
What's up?
Good. Awesome.
Good. So John and EB, some other people know I've been I keep saying, well, why won't you do Novation on it? Because I know typically Novations, a typical wholesale where they can't make any money on a Novation, or you can make at least 10 or 15 on. I wanted to ask you, when you have inspections done and the buyer may say, well, I want this fixed, how does that work? Like,
credit.
But yeah.
We always negotiate a credit. Depending if we're doing FHA and VA, we would sometimes do the repairs. I mean, we've done it before, but like most of our deals, we'd only sell to conventional buyers. And so with conventional, you can do credit.
Okay.
100%.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And your first part of the question there, no, Novations is not only for deals that they're not like good for wholesale. Like I loved locking up wholesale deals, Novation, because I would make bigger spreads.
Yep.
Right. So you would lock up a deal, wholesale deal, and be like, I'm still going to novate it regardless.
Oh yeah, I'm going to dangle the carrot on the back end of the conversation, offer them a few $1,000s more, maybe 3,000, maybe 5,000, and then go into the pitch and let them, kind of Sean had said earlier, hey, we could do it like this or we can do it like this, and let them pick. And man, yeah, you make so much more selling at retail.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely try that tonight on this call that I have tonight. So
There you go. Let's go. Put it in full effect.
I think what happens with a seller calls in, right? And you're talking, you're finding out what the situation is, figuring out the problem, right? And they have an idea what a number is in their head, and they kind of display that number. And you're looking at the comps, looking at your calculator, looking where you need to be, and you're determining whether that number is in the money or it's out of the money. In the money means, yeah, listen, I can accept their number and I can make money on this deal accepting their number. Then you can just go straight to signature on it. You can give them what they want. Then you have most of the deals are out of the money, meaning you have to negotiate to a certain degree to get them to come to a number that makes sense for both parties, and that's where the negotiation takes place. So typically, if you're going to just do wholesale, then that gap between where you need to be and where they need to be is too wide. So it eliminates the potential opportunity of doing business with someone because that gap is too wide. But because of the novation and the ability to pivot from a low number to this mid or higher number, it closes that gap between you and the seller and that spread. And typically you can move them to a close to your number to get the deal done. And it's a lot easier to move someone $5,000, $7,000, $10,000 to move to get the deal done than it is to move someone $50,000 to come to your number. So it enables you to sign more deals and be able to make a profit in the process. And now you're able to sell to that retail buyer. That retail buyer, even in this current market, they will want some sort of concessions. If you build enough spread in there to be able to make it work, even at that number that you agreed on, then it becomes a profitable deal. So now, in a normal market signing wholesale deals, our leads per contract would be like 1 in 30. Now our leads per contract, we're seeing 1 in 7, 1 in 12. That's where our acquisition reps are signing right now. So now imagine doing 1 in 7, 1 in 12. It just literally doubles your business by just implementing a specific strategy to sign deals at a higher price and be able to sell them and still make your numbers.
Yeah. And I just wanted to chime in on Corey's comment regarding even the wholesale deals doing an ovation. You have to understand, like, you guys are pitching your wholesale deals to a buyer's list. Those buyers, and you guys can all correct me if I'm wrong, those buyers are accustomed to buying property in this area for a certain dollar amount, right? They're very tough in negotiating their deal. They have their 70% rule, 60% rule, minus repair, and they're not going to move from that number. Now you put this bad boy on the MLS, you have other types of investors that may come in cash and are not doing the numbers as aggressive as your typical rinse and repeat cash buyer. So your buyer pool now just grew, right? And you can do the additional spread of whatever, 10, 15, 20% more on the MLS, not to mention the retail buyers that are also interested as well, that may also have cash to buy your property.
Yeah, I'll tell you about a deal in San Francisco we signed. So it's worth 1.2. We signed it for $1 million. So normally it's a condo in the art district in San Francisco, right? And so normally you would never sign that deal at all. You wouldn't sign it. Wholesale deal, you'd not touch it. We signed it $1 million. And we sold it for 1.1 and closed it conventional. And but it's a deal that you would never take wholesale. We gave the seller what they wanted, and they were happy about it. But those type of deals work, and they work in California. I love California. It's probably our highest profitable state out of any state across the country because median home price is a lot higher. If you deal with a higher median home price, you get bigger spreads. So the bottom line is that you're able to do a deal and that you would look at and normally pass on any day of the week and make $100,000 on.
Right.
Gosh, I appreciate you guys. And one last thing I want to before I get off the stage here. So you said you will offer the seller a couple more grand. What was it? Conservative? What would you say? You would say I'll offer you X amount more.
Concierge service is what we called it in our company. That was you never say novations or retailer buyer program. You're not going to say that to the seller. You're going to say whatever it is, maybe the white glove service we called it the concierge service.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. All right, I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
Some questions.
Yeah.
Well, how y'all guys doing?
Amazing.
My question is morely towards the contract because I've been studying Novation for like over a month now, but I'm really getting confused on the contract side of things. So I was told that it was like there was 3 contracts. Normal's agreement is what's that? Purchase and sales agreement, and then attorney of something. I was getting mixed up on that part. So I was like
my paperwork's a little bit different than Sean's, but so how it worked in our company is that we would have the original purchase agreement that we would ink with the seller, and it would have a novation clause for full disclosure on the front end purchase agreement. We would do the novation and indemnification agreement, which was actually spells out what we're doing legally, and that way the title company also knows what we're doing. And then the attorney in fact, so we can list the property. And those were the 3 agreements that we would get signed on the front end. And then on the back end, we just need the notice of interest and the release of interest done when it comes time.
Okay. Thank you.
If I get it unfrozen. There we go.
Thank you very much.
Good job.
Real estate TK.
Hey, first of all, thank you guys so much for this call. I mean, y'all just dropping so many gems in here. And as Sean Terry would say, this call is in the money for sure. You know,
In the money.
So, quick question. I am a real estate agent licensed in Maryland and DC, and I'm just curious, how does the real estate agent get paid in these deals? Just curious how that works.
Our realtors who would list the property for us, we give them a commission. It's negotiable, anywhere from 1% to 3%. But it's commission based.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, you got 2 different hats, right? And Corey's right. So you got 2 different hats, and it depends on what hat you're wearing. If you are wearing the realtor hat, then what you're doing is you're representing a buyer and seller in a transaction. You have a fiduciary responsibility to that buyer and seller, and then you fall under the board of realtors and the code of ethics as a realtor under that hat, right? So, and you're going to make a commission for representing that buyer and seller in that transaction. This other hat you're wearing is the investor hat, right? And that's the Novation hat, the wholesaling hat. That's what we're talking about right here. If you're wearing that hat as a real estate investor, then you're acting on your own behalf. You're not representing anybody in a buy and a sell of a real estate. You're representing yourself. And then you can contract on your own behalf. You can have someone else list the property. I would not list the property. I would make that completely separate. I'd either list it on like a flat fee or have someone else list it. But then now what happens is you're acting as an investor in that property, and now you're acting exactly like we're doing. So you have to separate your actually roles of what you're doing, and determine, are you representing someone in the buy and sell of real estate, or are you representing yourself? If you're representing yourself, you're an investor.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
Anybody else?
We have a few more questions coming in.
Sure.
Cool.
How's it going, guys?
What up?
My name is
B-Town up here. He's saying that we
man. My name is Mike. Sean, Corey, I appreciate you guys, man. Sean, I took your course. I learned everything. I've closed now about 9 deals. My 2 were novations. I got like 8 deals on my books right now. And Sean, Corey, I started off with you, man. I've watched your YouTube videos and I learned about Sean, and man, it's just been amazing. So long story short, I just want to know, man, how big do y'all think this can go? Because my PPC campaign, I've spent about maybe 40 grand now. I get leads every day. I'm going crazy. You know, I'm getting my budget up. I just want to know, what do you guys think? Can I, because I feel like I can make $1 million a month. Do you guys really think that's possible?
100%. I mean, and I've done it. So it's like, it's the thing is that it's leads and people. The biggest like leads right now is easy. I mean, you can press a button, you can get, 500 leads a month, 500 leads a day. The issue becomes the people. I mean, we're interviewing 3 or 4 or 5 people a week that come in our office. We're interviewing, and we're literally hiring maybe one. I mean, out of the last month, just because it's difficult to find talent. It's not just me. It's like everybody in the industry is having a similar type of issue of really finding good talent. We hire very slow, and we fire fast. I mean, we hired a guy on a Monday, fired him on a Thursday. We hired a guy at last 2 weeks. He just couldn't cut it. So it's like it's finding that talent is critically key, and that is the how fast it's how fast you can grow. Because you're not like a startup or a tech startup who gets funding and they get $100 million to fund, and then they hire everybody and their brother and they figure out who sticks and the rest of them they fire. You can't really do that because you're funding your own hiring. And every time you hire a person, you got to payroll, you got to pay, and you got to generate leads. We generate 20 leads per rep per week that we're doing. So that's kind of what we do. And those numbers compute and it's scalable. So in that case, if our leads cost are, $100, then now we're spending, $2,000, a week to be able to generate 20 leads a week, plus they got the payroll. So we're spending about $10,000 a month to hire a good quality person. So I'm investing in that person. It takes them about 90 days to really gain traction on that. And once they gain the traction, they can take off and make you $1 million a year. So think about that. You have 10 people. Yeah. If you got 10 people, now you're at $1 million a month if they're doing $1 million a year.
I think the biggest thing is really, though, I think where the biggest people get confused is they think that they can do 100,000, 500,000 a month, $1 million a month with a one-man show. And that's where we are like, that's not possible in my opinion. Maybe in a different dimension. I don't know. But like, I think at the end of the day, it's like you have to decide how like, I think too many people, it doesn't matter what business that you're in, get too focused on like, how much is my business making a month? Not more focused on like, how much do I want to make a month and how much risk do I want to put into the business to get to the number of how much I want to make a month? And I think that's not a calculated risk factor that a lot of people put into building a business like Sean Terry's, building a business like Corey's, building a company like mine, putting an operation together like Juan's. I think a lot of people don't put into a factor of like, how much risk factor do I want on my table? How much do I want on my plate? How many people do I want in an office? Am I gonna have a virtual team? Am I gonna have an office space where they're all gonna come in and they're all gonna work under my umbrella? Like, these are so many things that people don't consider when they just hear like, oh, well, $1 million a month. Yeah, the idea sounds great, but like, what does it take to get there? Are you prepared to put in the actionable steps? Create the umbrella of everything that needs to happen in order to reach that number? Is that going to net you the number that you're looking for a month? Because remember, like, when your company's making $1 million a month, are you making $1 million a month, or is the company making $1 million a month? What are you asking for? So it's two different numbers. So you gotta ask yourself, what am I willing to take on responsibility wise? What kind of risk factor am I able to put on? Am I going to have a legal team at this number, doing this stage, doing this many miles? I'm sure Sean has legal advice, underneath his belt and all the people that he has. I'm sure Corey Geary has had people working with him on the legal side, because I can just tell you from building a business, I have a business right now that does 680 to 720,000 every single month in revenue. That has created a significantly larger risk factor for me when we were just doing $100,000 to $200,000 a month. It's a much bigger deal. it's great, and I love being able to say that, but it's like, how, like, what do I have to put on to get to that number? And it's like, at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, it's like, what is that $1 million a month? What are you asking yourself that for? Is it because you want to make $1 million a month? Or is it because you're like, oh, I want to grow a corporation to where it's this point of this, size and everything associated with it? I think that's a thing that a lot of people don't take into account when they're pulling these numbers through their mind. I don't know if you guys agree on that or not.
I agree 100%. I agree 1,000%.
Get ready for lawsuits. Get ready to be a glorified HR department. Get ready to hire and fire. Get ready for all the BS that comes with running a high level company. I mean, bro.
Corey's like, crypto, baby, crypto.
I'm still in some lawsuits right now, and I haven't practiced real estate since January. And I've got three
active lawsuits. I have 3 active lawsuits against me right now. So it's like, that's how it goes.
The more you scale, the more issues you're going to have, the more problems you have, the more money you make. But get ready, and and you might think you want that now, man. I'll tell you, it changes when you get there.
Corey, I'm coming from trucking, man. I had a big trucking company. We were making millions a year. I had some lawsuits getting out of that. I pivoted to wholesaling because I needed to, keep my income at a certain level. So I was just trying to see if it's possible, man. I'm ready for it.
Oh, it's possible.
Everything, every industry is possible.
Yeah. There's Sean. I got another buddy named Flores Blackburn. He's made $1 million a month on a consistent basis. I mean, there's people out there doing them. I mean, you can do it, man, if that's what you want to go out and achieve. But yeah.
The biggest thing is that I've learned over the years is, number one, leverage. Leverage is people, just like Dan's talking about. You have to have people. You have to have a team of people, really good, high quality, amazing people. And you knew that when you ran your trucking company. The number 2 is you got to know your numbers. If you know your numbers and you have great people and you know the metrics, then you can scale metrics, right? I get P&Ls every single Monday. You know what I mean? We run at a 45% margin. So I keep it at that and I scale it on that 45% margin on a way to, to basically scale it up, because you don't want to make $1 million a month and bring home 50 grand a month, right? You want to make $1 million a month and bring home like, 450
You're going to have all the problems from $1 million a month.
That's pretty good. Then you have all the problems. Now it's worth it because you're bringing home 450 grand a month, right?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, then you do it 10 million, right? And do it 20 million. And Dan's 100% right. You're taking on more risk and more liability. But it comes with the territory, and I just have, and I know Dan and I know, John, I was like, everyone here on the thing is that it's hard to stay small, right? So, it's like, every day you come in the office, you want to grow, you know what I mean? It's like, you want to grow, you want to get bigger, you want to do more deals, you're tracking your numbers and stuff. You want to grow, so, it's like growth drives people. You want to grow. You don't want to stay doing a deal a month. You know what I mean?
I got you. I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, I mean, but you understand though. You understand. You have the perspective. Like that's what we didn't understand. Yeah, I mean, like when because I wasn't trying to like shut you down or whatever. It is like what Sean Terry said is possible. It's just I hear that a lot from so many people of like, oh man, I think I can make $100 grand or 500 grand a month or $1 million a month, and like they've done 1 deal a month for the past 10 months, or they've and they're trying to make $1 million a month, and it's like, well, do you even have a VA, or do you even have someone as an acquisitions manager? Do you have a team at all? And now they're talking about $1 million a month. It's like, I don't think I ever saw my company that's doing the best right now. I don't think I ever saw it specifically doing the numbers that it's doing now. It was more or less just a system of like, I was slowly changing things over time. And I was like, I think if I change this one thing, we add this one thing in or take this one thing away, it's going to make the system better. And then all of a sudden the numbers just started going up. So I don't really think it's a matter of like shooting to like, I want to make $1 million a month. I think it's more or less like, I just want to optimize my business and allow it to continue to grow. And then the next thing you're making $500,000 to $1 million a month. That's sort of how businesses evolve. It's really hard to have a number that you want to hit, shoot for it and hit it. it's a lot easier just to like work on your business and like nitpick the little things that are wrong, improve the things that need to be improved, add the thing in that you don't have. And the next thing you know, you're like, holy shit, my life is like, it's like my life that it was a year ago is not the same life that I have now. And I'm making, I'm pulling $450,000 a month into my account every single month. And, it's just like your life is just going to evolve because you have to become the person and the business associated that can handle $1 million a month, right? It's like, is it possible to have it? 100%.
Your keyword was optimize, and
Yes.
and you're optimizing. You're doing tweaks on your business every single month. It's optimizing and it's making it better. And it's interesting because there's several different models. Do you have local people? Like I have an office, and I have a 5,000 square foot office. We have people working here in a team. We got people in our mastermind that I have a guy that's in his mastermind working out of Atlanta. And his entire team is virtual. He has all his team is completely 100% VAs. He works out of his house. He has his laptop and he has his team and he gets on Zooms. He runs everything, his team. He's got a sales manager that runs his team. He does $1.5 million a year and takes home 78%, right? Not bad, right? 78% on $1.5 million. That's pretty good. That's a great margin, So you have different kind of business models and he's optimized it to a way to where you can have a virtual team. And if you have virtual nationally, I mean, literally, it's unlimited. I'm limited to my office space, and we got like a hybrid model. We got people like working from home and here at the office. So,
gotcha. I appreciate you guys, man. I really do.
I appreciate you, Mike.
I'll let you
blow
know.
it up, man. Blow it up.
I'm excited. I'm excited. I like his attitude with everything. So
I'm coming from trucking, man. So we had like almost 30 trucks. So. That's
dude, every business is the same. Every business is the same at its framework. You know what I mean? The biggest thing that Nick Perry told me a while back, since we're all talking about how Nick Perry gave all of us something at the end of the day. The biggest thing Nick Perry, told me last year. I remember we're sitting there, we're working out one night, and we're in the gym, and I was just like, I was frustrated, man. I was like, I just don't understand why my wholesaling business. I'm like, how can I be so successful with these other things? How can I be doing these other things and they're going so well? And my wholesaling business is just like I'm struggling with this, and and he's just like, well, what are you doing with your other business? I mean, why is your other business so successful? Why are your other companies so successful? And I was like, I started naming off a few different things. He's like, don't sit here and give me a list, Dan. He's like, go home and look at your wholesaling business, compare that to what your other doing in your other businesses, and look at the differences and just implement the backbone of what's making these other companies so successful versus what's killing this company. He said, and just change that. And he's like, you already know how to run a business. You already know what you're doing on this end. He's like, just start implementing the things that you were doing right over here. And I promise you, your wholesaling business will change. And he was 100% right. So every business is the same. If you can run a trucking company, you can run a successful wholesaling company.
And I just say this one more thing, man, because what you just said is exactly what changed it for me, right? So like just coming with trucking, like in trucking, I looked at it like I have the driver, the truck, and the loads, right? I broke it down into those three things, right? You needed to be truck to put in the loads. So when I came to wholesaling, I broke it down as acquisitions, dispo, and transaction coordinating. So I split it up into those three groups, right? Acquisitions, I sat down, I put together my script, had my contracts, the pictures, making the offer. That was under the acquisitions umbrella. I mastered that, right? Then I went to dispo side, intro, getting access to the property, listing the property, coordinating showings. I put all that under dispo. Then I separated my transaction coordinating, negotiating offers, getting EMD in, and closing the deal. So I literally, exactly what you just said, right? How I did trucking, I brought it to wholesaling, and that's what did it for me, man. So I agree with you.
Cool. Good luck. Good luck.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much, man. I appreciate that.
Boom. Boom, boom.
What Mike Starr comes up with, man. This is good.
I got you.
Million a month.
I wanna quickly highlight a question that PDRE had in the chat. PDRE asks, which would be the order of the offer to the seller? A novation, then a wholesale offer, or a wholesale offer, then a novation offer?
Cash offer's always first.
Cash first.
Yep.
That was a quick question.
Always,
Sorry,
yeah.
Taylor.
We always start low and pivot high. You know,
Yes.
because the low anchors, you have to start with an anchor first. Because someone in their head's thinking 130, but then you come out with 75. They go, well, I can take 110.
That's exactly right.
Taylor, thank you for joining us.
Oh, hello. Thank you.
How's it going?
So, I'm doing pretty good. I'm actually driving for dollars right now, listening to you guys.
Cool. Oh.
So I do have a quick question. I'm a new wholesaler. Maybe I started about 2 months ago, and I hear you guys talking about having a massive team, or just getting a team established. Someone said something about having a team and hiring and firing people. Now I'm not really sure what stage that would be at, but I'm just wondering, as a new wholesaler, what would be a good team to establish? Like, I know that there's VAs.
You are the team.
Well, okay, so okay, all right, that makes sense. So I had a VA, and I wasn't really. I mean, my VA was okay, but I guess I wanted to see if that was an okay route, or. I know you said I am the team, so how would I be my own
I think
team?
I've seen people actually hire VAs right off the jump myself, and it doesn't go well. And I'm going to break it down why. And I'm sure everybody up here will probably agree with what I'm about to say. Like when you're starting something, you kind of have to you don't have to be an expert. You don't have to be an expert closer, an expert dispositions agent, an expert transactions coordinator, an expert creative finance person, an expert novations, individual. But you need to at least understand all the facets of your business to some degree. So you at least need to have a handle on what it is that you're doing before you're giving the responsibility over to someone else and to do a job inside of your structure. Because if you don't understand what they're technically supposed to do and what they're supposed to deliver on, then how are you going to hold them accountable inside of your structure?
Okay, that's understandable.
Right?
Yeah.
So right now, you don't want to stretch yourself too thin, because especially especially if you're not making any money yet, and wholesaling is a business where you don't necessarily have to put a whole lot of money up on the table to start making money right away. So you need more skill set building in the very beginning, and you can start making money with little upfront. And I've seen people stretch themselves way too thin. They want to put everything up on the line in the very beginning, and they don't even have the skill set to really have the structure in place to even have a team, right? That's a whole other separate skill. So it's at least just get the wholesaling skill down first, right? Pick the niche inside of the wholesaling business that you want to do, get that down first, and then start to look for, what am I losing time on that I can put someone in place for this that can give me time back so I can go and now do this. It's building a team is not necessarily for the fact of just oh, I want to hire all these people, because if I hire all these people, I get all this money back. It's a lot of money up front, and it's not, it doesn't work that way, so
Yeah.
I'll let everybody else, give their 2 cents as well. But
So I actually, honestly, Dan, I think you absolutely nailed it on the head. So I don't know if there's much more we can say on that, because you check that box.
I mean, I've hired so many people in so many different industries. It's just you always, no matter what business that you're getting involved in, you have to understand first before anybody else gets involved with you. Because I've seen people start their wholesaling business, and then right out of the gate, they hire a VA or a cold caller. And then you ask them, what's the cold caller? What's the cold caller and the VA's KPIs? And they're like, oh, what's KPI?
KPIs.
Well, you have somebody in your business, and you don't even know the parameters to give them yet. You don't even know the KPIs to set for them to actually make sure that they're performing, right? It's they're just, out here just doing something, out here making dials or making calls. And, at the end of the day, there's no direction for them. So you have to have the strong direction of like, hey, I'm doing all this. I would like to go do this, but I'm running out of time. So let me put somebody else into place to give me back some of this time. I will make sure that they know what they're doing, because that's essentially what you hire an employee for. It's not just to level yourself up past level. Like everything that we're talking about with Mike, that comes so much later. It's not something that you should be thinking about right now. So don't put pressure on yourself to do that, right?
And I'll tell you, not everybody wants a big team. I know a girl in Phoenix, and she's been doing it for 10 years. All she does is door knock, and she does 1 to 2 deals a month, makes around, anywhere from 10 to 20 grand per deal. She's got no overhead. She's got, no team. She's just, and she doesn't want it. She's perfectly fine making her, 20 to 40 grand a month, like just on her own, knocking on doors. And she's happy. And that's because she gets to keep almost all that money. And so it's you build the business you want, right? But not building a massive team is not what it's all cracked up to be. I promise you, I've been there, I've done that. And it works for some people, but don't like Dan said, don't go feel like you're in a rush to do that. Do it slowly. I would hire, like when I was hiring, I would do just what Dan said. When I had a thing in the business that I knew I could hire for that would give me more time, that was probably the least profit generating like activity, I would hire for that. And so that's how I would scale slowly. And so just don't rush yourself.
Okay. All right. Well, I really appreciate those responses, guys. That was very helpful, and thank you. That I do understand what you mean. Just starting out, I do like whoever said I am my team. That did make a whole lot of sense. Just even from the beginning, that I do
enjoy
need to
this
learn.
time.
Yeah,
you get to keep all the profit.
Relish this time.
And I think that's the thing. I'm like thinking, well, do I need all these people to help me? I'm a loner. I like
the Discord is this team. The Discord is your team. You're in a community. True. You're lucky enough to be in a 12,000 member community. If you wanted to split the profits to, work with some people in a deal, I mean, you have a 12,000 member community to team up with people, but you don't have to take on the responsibility of having a team. There's a big difference between teaming up and having a team. So, so it's just, don't put pressure on yourself though, of taking I got to get started right out the gate, because that's how people redline themselves. And then it's very hard. It's very hard to get out of that hole when you put yourself in a hole that you're not ready for.
It sucks.
You're climbing out. Yeah, it sucks. So,
I've been there.
Corey and I have both been there. Yeah.
Well, you're talking about the difference. So what's the difference? It's called payroll.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right.
It's called payroll.
Yeah, and responsibility too. You're responsible for putting money and food on other people's tables when you offer them a certain offer to put them into your business, and you're responsible for their income. That's a big responsibility. You got to make sure you're ready for that. I mean, that's something that like Corey said, that's something that not a lot of people want to do. Not a lot of people want a restaurant business. Some guy might just like having a food truck, right? He likes having the food truck because he just serves people all day long. It's just him. He pulls up with his truck, cooks for people all day long, packs the truck up, and goes home, right? He doesn't have, and he keeps all the profits. So, right, the only thing he has to worry about is him, his truck, and his customers. That's it. So you don't always look at what somebody else is doing and think, hey, I got to jump myself into what they're doing.
I'm starting a food truck.
Oh yeah,
they make good money, man. Some of those guys,
they do. Yeah, they do.
Kill it. Some of those guys kill it, man.
Yeah.
I got just one more Novation question that popped into my mind that I'd like to ask. I want to be mindful and respectful of your time, Sean, and your time, Corey, your time, Juan, your time, Dan, your time, Taylor, everybody's time. When is it not a good idea to use a Novation? When is it not the right time to pitch Novation?
Well, the biggest thing I'd say is you got to look at, property condition, but and we do a little bit different because we let the MLS bring us the buyer, right? So if we have a completely trashed property, then I can't take a conventional offer, I can't take an FHA offer, I can't take a VA offer, and I can't take a USDA offer, right? So I'm only left with a cash offer, but it's still okay because I can put the property on the MLS. So still, I would work with that seller, get the property under contract. I let the listing determine how the offer is going to play out. I'm opportunistic. But then I know I can't take conventional FHA or VA because of the condition of the property.
So, I mean, when we were analyzing deals, the three things we always look for is time, condition, and access. The biggest one there is access. If they're not allowing us access, then it's just not a deal. We're not going to do it. You need to sell to me cash, and it better be deep. Because even cash, wholesaling's hard with no access. But condition I can work with, just how Sean said, and even time I can work with, but depending how deep the deal is, but time's another deal killer too. So time and access are the biggest ones with condition.
My Discord is.
Have a wife, dude. John's the only one up here who's
Yeah, I know. He just wanted dinner.
John's
He's
gone.
Like, give me dinner. I'm out of
John's
here.
gone. No, man.
Man, I didn't even catch all that. I heard something about me not. What did you say, Dan? You said John's single. What is this?
I said John's the only one up here who's single. John's the only one up here who's single, and John had to go. They were all talking about the fact their wife was blowing up their phone.
I was like, my wife's
John was
blowing up my phone.
John was gone. I said, "Oh, John's wife must have got him off the."
I mean, John
John's
lives in
hungry.
Brazil. I mean, when you live in Brazil.
Hey, well, we'll see. Man.
Oh, don't, let's not get him started, Corey. Let's not get him started on that one. Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Sincerely appreciate you all taking the time to come and join us today. I know that everybody wants to definitely get out of here, get some calories. I know some of us are getting bigger out here. Everybody's growing in their own way. But sincerely, thank you so much, Corey. Thank you so much, Juan, for making the connection from me to Corey, and Corey for sitting down on the Zoom and chopping it up.
Goat himself.
Bringing us in proximity with Sean, and I'm beyond grateful, man. I started my journey about a year and a half ago, and just to see where I'm headed is really I don't have words to really articulate the way that it makes me feel, but I'm blessed, and I'm very, very blessed, and I'm grateful. So thank you all sincerely.
Good job, man. Great job putting it together. Great job building the community. I commend you on that. It's not easy to do, and it's a great thing. So you're making an impact.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys. Have a wonderful evening. Appreciate everybody on the panel and the people that showed up as well.
Yes.
Right. Thank you, guys. Thank you, John.
All right. God bless. Be safe.
Yep. Appreciate
Have a good dinner.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already, please consider inviting somebody you think would benefit from being in proximity with us. Send them that link, discord.gg/REI Rev. Love y'all.